Transformative social change began sort of not just in one moment, but over a period of time. And what it was watching my students present different group projects, not unlike what you are doing right now. And some of those projects were very profound in my mind. And I thought, is there a way that we could expand that opportunity for students to work on an issue, a social justice issue, in such a way that it went beyond the boundaries of the curriculum? It's not just handing in a project to get a mark on. While that's very, very vital and important, could it go further? And it turned out that it could. So what's been going on here for the day so far is what you might characterize as social alchemy, the idea of taking difficult issues and challenging issues and turning them into magic, where people connect with each other. Even in a simple one-day session, people are connecting, and now we're even going to connect with people as far away as Africa just in a few minutes' time. And it's because of all the people in the SSW program, all the people on the planning committee making this happen. And every time you get people in a room who care about each other, magic happens. So fantastic. That to me is transformative social change.
Well, I think that social change really is nothing more or nothing less than the aggregate of individual transformation. So there's been a lot of conversations that have opened up for people in this two-day event that have clearly moved their own paths forward. And so there's been also, it's being combined with, speakers and presenters who have shared their stories as well, which is inspiration. But that's just laying the groundwork for other people. It's about sharing stories of transformation, of personal transformation, that then spread outwards and inspire other people to take on what is the thing for them. So the really important thing is, what is it for the participants in the group that have come to the forefront? And I've heard several stories from people in the last couple of days that have been very inspiring to me. But for me, as a speaker and a presenter at this conference, that it means that we're on target, that we're on purpose, that people are actually embracing this for themselves. I mean, they already have their own agendas, but that they see an opening to what the next step is, because that's really all there ever is to do is, hey, what's the next step? And I see a lot of people preparing to take that next step, and that they're seeing it as real. That for me is very meaningful. So.
I was 16 and I was at the lowest point of my life. I was really depressed and just didn't know what to do or where to turn. So I became an advocate for myself at 16 to get the help that I needed through our very small mental health system in Prince Edward Island. And I navigated this system up till I was about 23 before coming to Toronto, where we're very privileged to be in a city like this where there is a lot of mental health resources. So just going through that experience, I realized that there's a lot of gaps in our mental health system, and actually, depending on where you are in your life, the gaps can be even bigger, the barriers can be even bigger. I grew up in rural Prince Edward Island and did not have the money to actually even get private counseling. So I had to just blindly go into the system and just get what was ever offered to me. And that wasn't always what I needed. So that was really, I think, just through my own personal experiences when I decided that that was unjust, that everyone should have the same kind of treatment in their mental health as they do now in their physical health care. Like, this should be treated in the same way. And so that was when my passion came about for helping people in mental health, but then also looking at the system and how can I change that.
Now, what has brought me to this point, that's a really long story. But suffice to say that I stand right now as a woman in my mid-30s, having journeyed through some pretty significant trauma, personal trauma, community trauma, political trauma. And the only way that I have come through it, I believe, has been because of my deep abiding belief in the value of community.
Nelson Mandela was put in prison for 27 years. And the one thing that Nelson Mandela will share with anybody is that you cannot imprison greatness. So for me, this transformative social change is very important because that's how you solve a lot of the challenges. It becomes the voice for those who are not comfortable to speak. And I think we have to empower people to be comfortable in speaking, be engaged, and also share that experience openly without feeling that they've been stigmatized or being criticized, but encourage them to use the voice out loud, coming from within and pushing it out.
For me, transformative social change now is bringing it back to a more intimate project of looking at the character and the fabric and the texture of my relationships with others and working more closely with those who I'm familiar with. So I think about transformative social change now in terms of my relationships with my neighbors, my relationships with my family, and really using that as the driving force in which I come to understand issues of justice.
We were challenged many times while working on this project. Our schedules never coordinated, making meeting times out of the classroom almost impossible. But we learned how to work collaboratively through work division and clear communication.
What we struggled with the most was the understanding of what transformative social change really means. This is what we learned. It's when people come together to promote change. It is a personal journey. It can start with a tragedy or a small idea, at times fluid with no end or destination. We came to realize that even though social change may begin with trauma, we can find strength in ourselves and turn it into something meaningful. To keep the momentum going, we each need to harness individual strengths and bring them together with the community to become allies in our fight for social change.
Empowerment.
Healing.
Inclusive.
Change.
Courage.